Hiring Happenings is the new podcast from Recruiting Gym, bringing you hiring news every month with a pestle twist.
Sponsored by Monster.
Welcome to the fourth edition of Hiring Happenings with a pestle twist. So we're going to take each letter of pestle: political, economical, sociological, technological, legislative and environmental. And as it's April, as it's the fourth month, we're focusing on the UK to start with, and therefore it's technological. So I couldn't do this without Wendy McDougall from Firefish and Rohit Kapoor from Paiger. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym, but it's more about the guests. Let's find out a little bit more about them. Wendy, if you'd like to introduce yourself as to your background, would be great.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on the show. I always wanted to study the political, economic, social, so I'm glad I'm the T, so that's good, the technology. So my background, I'm the CEO or Chief Fish of Firefish Software. We've been running this business, which is a recruitment data-led CRM system to the recruitment agencies. Before that, though, I was also running my own recruitment business. So I've been running businesses for the last 23 years. And hopefully from a lot of your audience, I understand the challenges that you've had and hope to make my ambition of the life, I think it is now, and passion of my life is to try and help recruiters do better and make better decisions with data as well. So that is me.
Perfect for this session. Thank you for that. Rohit?
Hi, I'm Rohit. I'm one of the co-founders of Paiger. We founded Paiger 6 years ago. My background is recruitment. So I did it I started in 2007. And then in 2012, I worked for a fairly large multi-poster for about 6.5 years. And I guess for me, I saw a shift in the marketplace, realized a lot of agencies were using less job boards and actually spending more money on social media and their own website. So for me, I wanted to help businesses engage with their social media networks a lot more and actually drive more people back to their website rather than an application page to a job board. That's why we work very closely with Firefish.
Fantastic. Yes, you two got a lot of synergy going on as well, haven't you, in the work that you do, which is wonderful. We do have to give a shout out to Monster, our wonderful sponsors for this. They've been putting candidates together with jobs for over 30 years. So thank you very much for that.
And another partner of ours as well.
Wonderful. Well, that's it. That's what I love about our industry. There's so much opportunity for collaboration. Yeah. We've always done that. But actually, technology has really given us an opportunity to do that. So we're going to delve into what's going on with regards to technology. Of course, we're going to talk about AI. You know we're going to, but we're not necessarily going to start with that. Wendy, I'm going to come to you with regards to data, because data, big data, technology has made this and taken it to a totally new level, isn't it? So what's going on in the UK from your point of view with regards to this?
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic just now because, of course, we're aware that, for years and years, I think recruiters have heard that, I actually believe a recruitment company is a data business that deals with people. But they have such a rich source of data. But I also, unfortunately, believe that the industry has not really woken up to the power that they have at their fingertips and really how to use that data. And I think now we're really starting to see that, which is a really exciting time because it's been around in lots of other industries, data-driven decisions, data intelligence, etc. But I can now see the interesting peak within our sector. And that's really about, visualizing what's important in your business, being able to make the right decisions and really do more of what's working and less of what's not, but be driven by that data that backs up those decisions. So that's the concept of, data based or data-based intelligence through your CRM. And that's really then about how you visualize that, how you use it, how you work it in. And also the biggest thing about, throw technology out the window, it's about the behavior of your recruiters and then how you get them to, actually adopt to whatever technology we're talking about today.
Yeah, that rubbish in, rubbish out always hit home with me. I started in recruitment before we had computers, before we even had faxes. So it was right from the beginning. It was so important that the behaviours were there to make sure then that the data made sense. Because if you didn't update it, it didn't actually make any sense when it came out the other end. You were like, well, that's not right. Unfortunately, that's down to you. So there's always a human part to it, isn't there? We might go totally tech, but it's the human element that drives whether it's going to be right or not. Rohit, your view on data?
And look, I kind of put myself in that category where, and especially when I did recruitment, data entry wasn't my strongest point at all. Apologies for everyone that I work for.
I don't think you're alone at all.
You talk about leveraging AI. One of the things that we're doing internally is transcribing calls, just on a sort of pilot basis at the moment. So if we're on a client call or a prospect, what we're doing is then understanding what is said of both parties, and then adding that back into your database. I mean, how easy can that really be? But it depends on the quality of what it's picked up. So it'll be interesting to find out what the results are on that.
Yeah, so we're already diving into AI here, because I must admit I didn't make the link initially, but I use a system to record the calls. I love doing client meetings now where I don't have to make masses and massive notes or record it and then go back through it all to try and find it out. Utilising that, being able to tap on a word, get that sentence again right, got it. And also the updates that it's had over the last year or so, creating summaries for me, creating action points, a list of them that I can then just give. But you're right, the one that I use, I have to then go and put it into their folders and make sure I download it and don't lose it. Whereas what you're talking about there is actually, again, it's still being automated. Is that right?
Yeah. And actually, there's talking on that point. One of the things that really helps me out as well internally, which will definitely help recruiters, is, let's say I'm on a LinkedIn company page or a personal page, and that company is not on our internal database. It flags it up, and then you can add it automatically back onto your internal database. Wendy, I don't know if you've got something like that at all in your system, but I find that really helpful for me personally.
Yeah, it's anything that's enriching, because that's why we love working with you guys as well, because essentially we look at the CRM as a source of truth, and then all the integrations and tech that hangs off that help enrich that data, so you're enriching that with social conversations throughout social media and driving the traffic back to, in fact, when we look at it, though it's the website, Firefish has always believed the website is part of the CRM. So you're in fact driving it back to the CRM, and all of that, enhancing that data is exactly where we are right now. And the easier that you make, Angela, you mentioned sort of data, data in, crap in, crap out, etc. as well. But actually, if you're, I wasn't meant to swear, was I?
No, you can.
So if you actually look at that, that is becoming less as a problem, or will become less as a problem going forward, because that should actually all be automated. As long as we have decent calls and you can get the transcript from that call, you're creating a data set that we can query, search, date, match, look at action points from that, and create, and then sort of predict from this call the likelihood of getting a meeting the next time you're meant to meet, automate the follow-up tasks. It's amazing what you can then take from that one piece of data just now. So we're really at the early days, and it's super exciting.
Yeah.
As a recruiter, I would have loved all of this.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Well, yes, because you weren't filling it in. I'm the completer finisher, so therefore I couldn't go home unless I'd made sure everything was updated and everything was in, and all the notes were on everything. So yeah, I was doing 14, 16-hour days as a recruiter, but because of that.
There's one feature. I don't want to plug us in too much. Sorry, Wendy. But there's a product inside Paiger, and I demo it every day, day in, day out. And basically it allows a recruiter to receive job alerts from direct employers. So you basically stick in a job title and a location. It will tell you any direct employers that are looking for a certain person. Now, when I did recruitment in 2007, it seems not long ago, but it was long ago. But when I did it back then, we didn't have that tool, right? It was just literally a list of companies, and you'd go through and you keep calling and you just tick it. Now everything is in one place. If they do the search for you, it's just in one list.
No, it's a super cool feature. It really is. And I think it's gone beyond, I suppose if we go back a few days, we used to call it ambulance chasing in terms of job boards from that point of view, but it's much more relevant and live. And if you're seeing it directly from that employer, there's an intention there. They're going out to recruit. So you're giving really valuable information. And I think the excitement thing is that a recruiter now has probably joined the industry because they like talking to people, they like having relationships with people, they like being out there face to face. Let's get back into events and everything else, doing all that part. But actually, if you analyze what a recruiter does, it's at least 60-80% admin right now in terms of things that could be automated. So the exciting part is that I really believe in the next 3-4 years that can be right down to 25-30% of the stuff that they've got to do behind the screens. And we need to get these guys out, in order to be able to do what they enjoy and create opportunities. And you're steering the way from them there in that feature, Paiger.
Well, you also mentioned about like having calls, and I think it's not just picking up the phone going, I'm a recruiter. Because I also believe that having a much deeper, meaningful conversation with that client can really go far. So understanding the industry, understanding that they've been in the news recently, understanding they've had funding recently, they've had a new office built in. Wow, this guy really knows his stuff, or this woman really knows stuff, right? So you're having a much deeper, meaningful conversation rather than just recruitment.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Which I'm assuming they have hundreds of calls like that. But if you come in with your fact find, and which you can get very quickly. It's not a manual process. You can get that factual stuff very quickly in the palm of your hands, then make that call. It's going to be a much warmer conversation.
Well, people are going to do the research if it's done it for them. I suddenly had a flash then of Devil Wears Prada, where you've got Miranda walking through with her assistant on the shoulder, just giving her all that info as she's walking up to people. Like telling her who they are and what the little snippets of information. That's what it sounded like to me. Wendy, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I'd be really interested in where you're taking that sort of concept into the social distribution that you're doing, and where do you think that's moving in terms of the tech that's hitting us, the AI that's coming out, and where's your visions of where that's going?
Yes, obviously we have that. You have that data, right? So the ability to actually push out content that's relevant for your marketplace. So as a recruiter, what you need to be doing is understanding your industry, understanding facts and stats about the industry, so that when you do push out that content, it resonates with the client or candidates. For example, right, I'll give you a very simple methodology, right? If someone put out something about cold calling versus whether it works, whether it doesn't, I know it's a drum that's been banged on for ages, but I still believe that picking up the phone and speaking to people and having the right information before speaking to the client is the right thing to do. I don't think cold calling is dead. You just need to make sure that you've got your fact findings right before you pick up that phone. So when someone puts out something about cold calling, I've got an opinion about something, that industry. It's the same with any other industry as well. Pushing out things that are going to resonate with both your clients and candidates is really important. And also where your demographic sits, because they might not sit on LinkedIn. Your clients might sit on LinkedIn, but actually they might be seeing on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. So you also got to understand where do these candidates and clients sit, and that's where you angle your content, whether it's written content or whether it's curated content that's come from the news.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Did I answer that question?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Kind of.
we will get onto the social media part as well, because obviously it's a huge part of technology, and you're right. And just to clarify, I don't consider that definition wise a cold call. A cold call is when you literally just have a number and you call and you know nothing about them. So you warm up the call by doing the research, by finding the information, by understanding potentially their needs and wants before you even speak to them, through your research and through those lovely tidbits that are coming through from the information sources that you've got. So then it's not
a cold call. do you think a cold call is basically not doing your research and just picking up the phone?
It's the old yellow pages. It's the old, here's a number, here's a company, call them, just work your way through. Yeah, that's a cold call. That's not, we never have that. And the thing is, you may have warmed it up through the social media. Like you say, I saw it on LinkedIn. Well, why not have sent a connection request or copied them into, like tagged them into something that was relevant for them? So you've got all of these opportunities now to get in front of people as well as picking up the phone, which is what I love.
Yes. And that's why I also believe marketing and cold calling, they work hand in hand, because you need to have that marketing when you pick up that phone.
So thinking about the data, the entry, the client calls that we can do, all of this is linking back to AI, isn't it? I mean, it's infiltrated everything, even if we don't know it. So, Wendy, I know we came to you and we did a full session on AI probably 18 months ago now, when everyone started getting really excited about it. And it's been a passion of yours. So what about now? What's happening now that you're interested in?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because it's gone so fast, hasn't it? And we knew, I actually think that I did that session with you just before the first Recruitment Expo. So it was really, ChatGPT had been launched for about 2 months, if that, as well. So it was really early days. And I just made it tangible to everyone. So, really what we've been doing in the last year is AI is only as good as the data that we have. And so effectively, we have 2 sources of data as a recruiter. We have a CV and we have a job spec. Those stripping it right down. A lot of people come to me and say, how do I start with AI? Well, that's the start, because in the first year, really what we've been talking about and where we've been moving, all the tech vendors have had to throw out their roadmap and really focus on a different direction if they're of any value. And they've been using like the CV and the job spec. And from that, the user cases that you can have, you can, read the CV, you can match that, you can key skill it, you can get the recruiter summary, you can match that against then your job. Your job spec is then matched to Boolean searches, writing adverts, doing an interview pack. All of that content now can be generated automatically. Now, I've done quite a few sort of topics or speaking events on this. I think everybody knows that now, so they all are aware of those user cases, but it's interesting to see, actually, if you're in a room, I'd say the average is around 20-25% of people actually using it on a weekly basis. So it's not been embedded in the businesses right now. So I think the awareness is good. We're sort of like dipping into it, thinking, oh, that looks great. And then we forget about it. And we haven't yet embedded it in our business. So to answer your question, I think that's where the recruitment world is right now, is thinking about actually trying to embed it.
And that's probably quite typical of any new technology. You get those early adopters, which usually are around 20-30%, aren't you? And then you've got the people that are definitely, I'm going to wait until all the bugs are gone. I'm going to wait until we've seen whether it's good, bad or not, and then I'll make a decision on it. But I think the difference with this one is everyone was aware very quickly, because it sort of swept the world. We all got excited by it. There's still some people dipping their toes in, and there are those ones that have really embraced it. But you mentioning earlier about the administration in recruitment, it is horrendous. The amount of work that needs to go in, and if it's 60% of your time is admin, and we can get that down to the 20-25%, then people are going to get to be doing what they love, rather than maybe like Rohit as a recruiter. Wasn't your passion, was it, doing the admin?
No, not really. Just getting on the phones, to be honest with you. But I understand how important it is, right? And going back to the AI side of things, we've had to embrace it quite quickly. Yes, you can use ChatGPT, but again, what Wendy mentioned is putting the data in is what you're going to get out. You can't, just put in 7 interview tips, because it's just going to give you massive waffle, right? Of 7 interview tips. But you've got it's only as good as what you put in. So what we had to do is actually go one level above that and put in personality and put in prompts that are specific to people's industries, which is working really well right now. But again, you still need to have an element of control, and just don't rely on it. Obviously AI is always going to improve, year on year. And obviously, if you're not bracing it, then you're going to be left behind. I mean, but in terms of AI, yes, you need to have an element of control of what goes out, because you could just go rogue. And like you mentioned, Angela, everyone's doing everything in, and just doing everything and just using ChatGPT and not actually understanding what to put in it, because it is just literally a blank canvas. So you just got to be careful and just be wary that, have control of this AI tool before doing anything.
Each recruiter is looking at supply and demand and effectively, making a match and profiting for that if they do it well. Ultimately, you had Netflix and you had Blockbusters, each providing, a film for you to watch, but doing it in very different ways. One of them moving exceptionally fast with technology and the other one staying put. And ultimately, one is dead, the other is not. So that is my call to recruiters, and it's not a choice anymore. It's one that we've got to start to actually move forward. And I think the statement that I think is really eye-opening for me is, McKinsey, who are, obviously great research topics there, are essentially saying by 2030. So we haven't, we've got just over 5 years, to basically go and get this organized. So they're essentially predicting, which I can totally see, at least 30% of the jobs that each of us do right now will be automated through AI. So if you sort of quickly work that back, and not doing well, I've been nice to the recruiters by saying, it's 40 hours that they do as an average week. I know it's far more, but if it was 40 hours and you do that of the 30%, you're talking very quickly, 1 in every 4 employees in over a course of a year should not have a job. So as a recruiter, or as a recruitment agent, you've either got to think, right, well, I'm going to be profitable and more profitable by able to automate at least 1 in 4 employees, or I'm going to make sure that person that we can get rid of all of those automated tests or automated tasks is doing something more profitable and gives me an ability to move forward with the tech that's doing all the mundane stuff. And that's really a choice, or they end up being, blockbusters and no longer, because there are a lot of recruitment agencies out there. And as we're automating all the mundane, the ones that are moving forward the quickest will be the survivors.
I totally agree. I agree on your second point, that person shouldn't, there's technology there that can do the groundwork, that can do the low level stuff. Let that person do the bit more medium to high business critical stuff. But I do also think, having said all of that and saying that there's AI in their systems, I still believe in sales. People buy off people. I still really do believe that.
I don't think anybody would be disagreeing with that, Rohit, because essentially what we're doing is say cut out the mundane and let the recruiters do that. What we should, we've all come into this industry because we're hopefully personable people, and we enjoy going out, creating opportunities and meeting people. That's what we want to encourage more of.
100%.
I mean, I'm listening to all this technology and the speed of it and the change, but actually it's Darwinian. We are still back to, it's not the strongest of the species that survive, but it's the ones that can adapt to change.
It is.
Yeah.
Still the same scenario, isn't it? So those that are going to adapt, and you would hope that those companies with those 4 consultants wouldn't get rid of one. They would all up their game, have more productivity, be billing more, that would pay for the technology to have that extra person. And therefore, there's sort of no excuses, really. If you're taking a lot of the admin away and you're taking away 30% of the things that you have to do, then that 30%, as Rohit's saying, is you're going to be out talking to people. You're going to be out making sure that you're building relationships. That's the bit that I think automation, AI will struggle. I very, very rarely see an automated message that grabs my attention. There's always a lot of adapting and personalizing it.
I think it's already happening, in the year that we've seen, there is going to be a massive shift in displacement of jobs. And, I've seen, actually, kudos to Brain Food with Hung's wrap up that he does every Sunday. And he published a really good piece of work with a person looking at massive American freelance job board. and looking at looking at the different jobs and what had reduced in the number of vacancies for freelancers in the last year due to ChatGPT when that came in. We've seen a huge decline in content creation, translation services, and customer services, because the AI in all three of those areas is ready to go, right? And those jobs have completely decreased. And that's a really good indication from a freelance point of view. I need a skill, I need a task. But what we've had on the other side is we've had an increase in sort of video production or creation, because it's not quite there yet. Image, diagrams, visuals, because the AI is getting it, but it's not good enough yet to use. So we've seen increased jobs in those areas, and that's what's really going to happen. It's not that we're going to lose jobs here right now, but they are going to be displaced and changed. And we as recruiters need to understand what's happening on that to be able to not only service our clients better, but also run better and smarter businesses internally.
The technology for the sort of pictures and the videos with AI, I think we're a lot more aware of spotting it. What does really get me though is the deep fakes. I must admit, I'll be watching it for a little while before I realise, no, wait a minute, this isn't real. And I think that's something that's probably what prompted the government to finally turn around. Because originally, when it all came out, they were like, yeah, no, that's fine, we're going to leave it all. And it was about 6-8 months in, wasn't it? They suddenly went, no, we probably need some regulation around this, because, yeah, that opportunity for fraud, unfortunately, it's probably because they were being deep faked, and they were saying things out there that they weren't, obviously. And
yeah, I mean, it is definitely the darker side of the excitement side, and cannot be, it can't be ignored. And exactly, it's going to be it's moving just as fast in terms of, new areas to fraud, get money out of you, fake news on you, etc. And that's moving so quickly as well. And I think it is, just as we're talking about, we've mentioned ChatGPT, I do also say is that, look, just remember, any of these sites are using your data, so don't make sure you're putting anything in. The vendors, which I'm sure you've done as well, Paiger, is that we have taken that securely into our own environment, the client's own environment, and it means that they're actually learning from their own data, and it's not crossing over, because that's the important part. Anybody else that's going and running CVs through open ChatGPT, be careful. You are sharing that information. So,
I mean, the hint was in the name, wasn't it? Open ChatGPT, but a lot of people didn't pick up on that. And of course, because it is open, there's a load of rubbish in there as well that it's going to be picking up on. So you've still got to do your due diligence with it.
Yeah.
That's why you can't let AI take over it. You got to just make sure you've got the right stuff before you post stuff out. So when you are using AI, just don't let the robots control you, basically.
Now, you mentioned McKinsey there. I also wanted to bring in Forbes. Their report on the IT skills gap, their latest one, stated that 93% of UK businesses say that there is an IT skills gap within the national job market. Now, Rohit, you had a comment on this, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're talking about, well, what I alluded to earlier was obviously, like, in markets such as healthcare and teaching, obviously there's always going to be a shortage because you are relying on the government to put in money. Apparently, we don't have any money.
Well, I mean, that's the thing as well. I can remember, what was it, 10, 12 years ago, where the government was then investing, especially in SMEs as well, to support them to be able to come out of the recession that we're in there. Now, I'm hoping this recession, we're already sort of out of it. The stats haven't come through yet, but I do believe it's going to be just one of those short 6-month ones, and just a bit weird because of the conditions. But because of this influx, like you say, that maybe the content people have gone, but certainly from an AI point of view and the people required for that, they are still struggling. So although this is the UK report, I doubt it's much different around the world either.
No, it's not different. And the tech sector has gone through, I mean, let's face it, we have really never had an oversupply of tech candidates in that sector. So what's happened is and I suppose I can share a little bit more now. I've been working in it since '98, so I've seen it sort of full circle. What happened way back, just like a recruiter, a tech person used to have a huge amount of skills at all levels of the tech stack to be able to deliver. Then that was really hard, and only a few of the people then had the sort of solution side, the coding side, and the database side, because it kind of was all packaged up as one. And then what's happened is, to make that easier, to get more candidates coming in and being able to deliver, it's all been separated down into sort of objects, we call it, within tech, and they'll be able to use the objects specifically to be an expert of those areas and then come together as a team. But that's also quite a hard overhead for tech vendors to have, because it means you're paying for all the little bits to come together of that person to deliver. Yeah. So that's hard and that's difficult. Now, what's happening though with AI, which will continue to ease that solution, is actually there's lots of those jobs that now could be automated within the tech sector. So that is good, but that means that if you are, for example, let's think about let's look at UAT testing, right? So as one area of the whole product development, UAT testing, user acceptance testing, you can take requirements now, you can pop that into AI that can provide test scripts that can then go and automate it, right? So that is completely changing. So somebody that just goes and looks at something and tests it off, as I'm sort of saying, test what's on the tin, that is now going to become irrelevant. We don't want somebody that looks two-dimensional at that small piece just because we needed that piece of the jigsaw. We want people to think outside the box, and we want people to think about the solutions almost way back to where we were in 98.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's gone full circle.
Totally is, because you need that clarity and solutions, but then that's a challenge of the skill set because we've broken it down into components. So we have lots of experts at little components, and now we want more for them. We want them to look at it from a business challenge, and that's going to be where the industry is going to go through. Those that are good at it will excel in this world. Those that are not able to maybe think outside the box and think about it from a business solution and have the technical expertise, then that's going to be more challenging for them. And unfortunately, we don't have enough of the people that can, so the skill shortage is still going to continue.
So if you're a recruiter, then these are discussions that you should be having with your clients around the future and how they see their business adapting and changing, what's going to be missing, what they're going to need. So if you're not having the sort of the 6 month, 12 month, 18 month conversation, really, isn't it? It's a lot longer term here that you can then start planning, and of course identifying those great candidates that would be suitable to do this, and of course letting those candidates know that this is coming, and if they're in that scenario.
The content is out there. I do not believe that any IT manager, hiring manager, etc. in this world, if we're looking at tech in specific, that would not want to sit down right now and talk over how are other companies doing this, because we're all scrabbling around trying to find different ways to automate areas of our business. And this is not just in tech. This is in candidate acquisition, so your HR involved, talent acquisition there as well, marketing, social, any of those conversations with hiring managers, they will all be set a remit from up high, from stakeholders saying, what areas can you automate in this business? So they've got to look at it in a much different area, and the best way that they can do that is talk to recruiters that have got insight of their clients, if you've got solid relationships, and be able to help them with that. Now, package up that information, put it into reports, then you've got content, you share it out in the Paiger platform on a social basis, you warm up those calls, you have the call, and then you get another job on. That is where we are lying, but it's all about the person that's able to be that recruiter to join all the dots and using the technology that underpins that sort of methodology.
Yeah, I agree.
This is why I love getting recruiters who are maybe now doing other things, but you can always relate it back to the impact that it's going to have on you and your job, and therefore
we speak to recruiters day in, day out, right? So people that are not leveraging technology, and obviously we're speaking to people that are utilizing things like Paiger and Firefish and what successes they're getting. We've got quite a few case studies and testimonials to kind of back that up, and they're the ones that are flourishing.
Yeah, so if you're not leveraging technology in some way, and there will be a lot of small companies, maybe one-man bands, solopreneurs, but maybe those sort of 0 to 5, 5 to 10, that have got the minimum that they need to run the business, but haven't necessarily looked at investing in something like this. So when we talk about leveraging technology then, Rohit, what type of things are you talking about there?
Well, look, I mean, one of the things that I alluded to earlier was, when I speak to agencies and recruitment owners, they always talk about, yes, we're doing marketing. But when you actually look into a bit more deeper, what they think marketing is just posting out on the company page and putting some new stuff on the website. That's as far as the marketing goes. Mm-hmm. But you've also got 5-10 people that work for you as well, right? But they're doing nothing at all. And they've got an average of, let's say, 1,000 to 2,000 connections. Let's just say they've got 1,000 connections. You've got 10 people working for you. That's 10,000 people that you can ultimately connect with, but you're not doing anything about it. You're not doing nothing to leverage their networks. Yes, you can go down a very deep dark hole of SEO and paid ads, that, and the money pot is endless. Or you can start utilizing everyone else's networks within your business and actually start to build an online presence over time. Yeah. This isn't a short win. This is a quick win. We're going to start posting out content in a week. We're going to have an influx of results, right? We're not, social media and marketing is one thing. Posting on job adverts, Monster, is another, because you can track that quite easily. But with marketing, unless you've got Google Analytics, UTM codes set up in the background, the marketing side is very much a longer term and making sure you're consistent over time across everyone's feeds, not just the company pages. And that's what I would say about leveraging technology and leveraging, especially from a social media perspective.
Well, they say your network is your net worth, isn't it? And I think the word that stood out to me there was consistency. Yeah. Because it's got to be that sort of drip feed, ongoing. People feel comfortable with it. They know what they're going to get. That's why I love our Meet Your Recruiter every quarter. So that's been going for nearly 3 years now, because there will be people that join that and they never post. So their companies have been asking them to do it and they're just like, no, it just doesn't happen. And then for that week they do it and the company gets involved as well. And all of a sudden they can see the impact of putting themselves out there. But actually, again, you've supported us a lot on that, on the Meet Recruiter, and helping people to think about what is it I should be posting, and we create our prompts based around that.
Yeah,
from you, Rohit.
It should always be valued content. I know we touched on this earlier, but it should always be about valued content. Yes, you should post your job adverts that obviously drive people back to your Firefish website, but around that, you should be posting about value to your audience, whether that be clients or candidates. And around that, posting your job adverts that drive more people back to your website. If you can get those 3 things consistently over time, your followers will start to increase, and your second and third degree connections will ultimately see it. But it's going back to, you need to be consistent with it. And I guess that's why LinkedIn made us marketing partners, because we're the vehicle to do that. Plug in again.
Okay, so just in case there's anything else you want to add on that, leveraging digital technology, AI, automation, and things, the whole point is to improve the customer experience, isn't it? So if we're not creating an opportunity that makes it better, should we be saying don't bother if it's going to make it worse?
Controversially, I would probably say that right now AI is not 100% focused on the candidate experience, the customer experience. I actually think that right now AI is about how to automate and actually make your businesses run and survive going forward. Now, indirectly, that should make it better for the customer. So it should have an indirect way. But I think that where we've gone through a phase of looking at the customer journey quite heavily in the last, I'd say probably, pre-COVID, that was definitely an area that everybody was really focused on. I think, also with GDPR coming in, etc., that was very much a focus. on that candidate journey side, I think right now it's about survival and making sure business is fit enough to do that by using the tools and AI developments to continue a good customer service. So let's not just go and put bots everywhere and interact with very bad outreach emails, etc. But I think there's a bit of a balance there. Is get it, write your processes down, get the automation in, look at how you can then use the tools in order to do that, and make sure that you're actually getting a return on investment.
Yeah, so that review, one, that it's working for you, but probably feedback from your customers as well, that it's working for them, because we know it can be misinterpreted. It can be. We've got people that certainly with the chatbots, I love seeing those stories where people get the chatbots to swear and to do stuff, and they're just doing what they're not meant to be doing whatsoever, but it is still able to do that. So let's make sure that it's a better experience for everyone, and if we all focus towards that end and utilising technology, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't just make all of our lives a lot better and a lot easier. I think that's probably a good place to finish. Thank you to my two guests. So Wendy McDougall from Firefish and Rohit Kapoor from Paiger. Love that discussion. Lots of ideas in there and things that people can be thinking about from themselves and how it's impacting our UK recruitment industry. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.